I'm Anne Milling, and I'm a sustaining member of the New Orleans Junior League.
In what year did you become a member of the league?
1966.
And can you recall for us how it was that you came into that experience?
Well, at that time, one was invited to join the Junior League, and I'd heard a great deal about it, and an invitation was extended to me, and of course, I accepted with alacrity. I was a newly married New Orleanian, and it was just the perfect opportunity for me to combine meeting new people and doing volunteer work.
And how would you characterize your experience sort of overall? What are the striking points that have really defined your experience?
I think there are several that would define my experience with the Junior League. First and foremost, of course, are the friendships one makes. But then in addition to that, the added benefits are the training, the extensive training, the confidence, the opportunities one gains by being a member of the Junior League.
And are there skills in particular that you gained in the league that you can illustrate how you've taken them into the world at large to serve as a civic leader?
The Women of the Storm was founded in January of 2006, shortly after Katrina had struck New Orleans on August 29th of 2005. And we had discovered that very few members of the United States Congress had come to see the biggest man-made disaster in the history of our country. And so I had this wonderful idea: why don't we go to Washington and extend an invitation to every member of the House, every member of the Senate, and invite them to come to New Orleans. We needed them to be our advocates. We needed dollars for recovery. We needed all these things. And so I gathered a group of women, some junior leaguers, many not, and asked them if they would be willing to do something like this. Let's, charter a plane, get a group of diverse women, and go to Washington and knock on these doors. And it was those skills that I had received in the Junior League that enabled me to begin a grassroots organization that continues to this day, that's expanded across the Gulf Coast. It's done things that I never dreamed would happen. But if I hadn't had that training, these principles that one gained during those active years, I promise you I couldn't have succeeded. But it taught me how to plan, how to organize, have an agenda for every meeting, assess, evaluate, incorporate diversity, all the things that the Junior League teaches you, and you just seem to absorb it into your DNA, as I say. And it enabled me to be able to do this with the Women of the Storm.
Now, much has been made of how diverse a group of women you were able to pull together. Perhaps it's arguable in a city that is not necessarily known for its diversity. How did you manage to cross barriers like that and really solidify women of all backgrounds?
Well, from the get-go, I'm a firm believer in diversity. I think you're a stronger organization, your ideas are better if you have people from different backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds. I mean, it would be easy to go up and down the street and get my neighbors, really, to join the group. So first of all, you'll have to know that I underscore diversity in everything that I do. Secondly, in terms of New Orleans, we did tremendous networking. We had African-American friends who helped us in that community. I knew an Asian, a Vietnamese priest, and I called him and said, look, we really want the Asian community represented on this trip to Washington. He put us in touch with women who would be willing to do it. It was a question of networking. And if you really want to make something diverse, you can reach and find the people who would be interested and passionate and committed to your mission.
As you know, in sort of this recent time, we have seen a groundswell within the association to get back to its roots in advocacy. I'm wondering what you, a person who has served as an advocate on many different causes for many, many years, how do you define advocacy in this day and age, and what would be the message you would impart to those who are interested in learning more about it?
I think when I think of advocacy, I think that one has to be passionate about accomplishing something, changing something, making one's community a better place to live, seeing injustices that need to be righted. I think you've got to define that niche first. And you have to first and foremost be passionate about it. And then I think you have to be willing to speak out. Even though you might be criticized, maybe your neighbors, your family don't agree, I think you have to be willing to speak out most importantly. And when one does speak out, you have to be educated. You've got to be knowledgeable about what you're doing. I know from my own past experience and being an advocate for various and sundry things in my life, you've got to be well prepared before you raise your hand and voice your concerns.
Now, when I have looked at and read about all that you have done in this illustrious career, two things have stood out for sure, and one has sort of been your indomitable spirit, which I want to ask you about later, but also the fact that you remain, despite being a very big picture leader person, you also seem to remain very hands-on in terms of serving those who are in need, from Lazarus House to the Second Harvest to Women of the Storm. So tell me about what the meaning in your life is of being so hands-on.
I have found the greatest rewards in my life when I've had the opportunity to be hands-on. It's one thing to serve as chairman of the board of a university, which I've done, or serve on the arts museum board. These are all very rewarding and fulfilling, but for me personally, I've gotten the greatest joy in giving to other human beings and seeing, or just being able to interact with people in need. I just have loved it. And I think if I had to say of everything I've done in my life, probably working among patients with AIDS back in the 80s when no one was willing to do that, was the most rewarding. I know that now at this age I'm getting a lot of accolades from Women of the Storm, and it's been wonderful. And I love what I'm doing. I love all the people in Washington, and it's great fun to associate with high-powered women across the country and elected leaders. But personally, in my heart, the best for me was working at Project Lazarus.
I wonder how someone who has managed to sustain a career of service, such as you have, undoubtedly you have come to moments where you felt hopeless or down-spirited about the progress that was being made on a particular issue that you were passionate about. How have you managed consistently to really double down and find that passion again, to re-energize yourself when you feel disheartened?
That's a difficult question, very difficult. And of course, we all have down moments in our lives, personal ones, civic ones. It's just part of life. And I think you have to just overcome the negative and think positively about what you're doing and know that there is hope. And you can't you just can't become discouraged. Of course, there have been times where I wanted to say, I quit, and I could go off into the sunset and do something else, but it's just not in me. My life hadn't been that way. I just have to keep on, be positive about what I'm doing, and somehow muddle through those down moments.
What would you say would be the thing that has most surprised you, in a good way or a bad way, about sort of American society or individual Americans that you have come across, whether they're those that you have recruited into a specific effort or they're those that you served? What are the things that you wouldn't have expected that you have learned along the way about sort of the human spirit?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question accurately, but one of the surprises for me was in establishing Women of the Storm. I never, ever, in spite of my love of the Junior League, in spite of my happy days as an active Junior League member, I never dreamed the power women working in concert could have. I have been in awe of this whole organization of diverse women. When we began, we had liberals, we had conservatives, we had black, we had white, and they really weren't congenial, and there was a lot of tension initially. But to watch women come together, learn to listen to others, and know that together they can make a difference has been the greatest joy to see. And the power that women have is just awesome.
If you had the opportunity to send a message to junior leaguers who are coming up in the system or to women not yet indoctrinated into the League who are considering how they might be a more productive member of society, what would that message be?
The message I would give them is take advantage of the Junior League and the training, education, and opportunities it affords you. I can't underscore loudly enough that the training is invaluable as you step out into the bigger community with broader horizons. It just puts you in such good stead to have this background and to understand things and how organizations work and how important it is to plan, assess, etc., the things that the Junior League gives you. There's skills and tools that I feel would make you such a more effective volunteer if you take advantage of this. Certainly I know many women are carrying a great load with professionalism, volunteerism, families. It's a terrific combination of, in many ways, burdens to try to balance all this. But I urge them to take advantage of what the League can offer because there's just nothing quite like it.
If you look at the very complex world in which we live today, and you ponder the potential, the power of an association of 155,000 women, what would be the issue that you think we most importantly need to put our power behind?
Ooh, that's a difficult one. That's so hard to say. I mean, whether it be family issues, education, there's so many issues out there that need our attention. And I think that the League would have to come together and kind of find that common thread that would resonate across the country and with leagues across the United States and their individual members. It would be hard for me to say that there's just one issue that's glaring because I feel that there are many. And I think one of the joys of the Junior League, as well as in the national scope of the League, is that they can maybe work on multi-fronts and find things that would resonate with women across America. So it would be hard for me to pick just a single issue, though I think there are family issues and education and things like that that are just so important to the future of our country.
So if you were in a position to write your own legacy, what would you want it to be?
Ooh, I couldn't even answer that. I couldn't even begin to answer it. I guess what it is, and I see it in my children and my grandchildren, it's the importance of sharing your talents, your gifts with others. And I hope that my life reflects that. I came from a family and a background where my parents led by example, and I hope I did the same for my children. I must say humbly that I do see it with my 3 sons, their families, and their children. I am in awe of how they have continued that legacy of service to others.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No.
Okay.
I'm so
Well, I
grateful to be
say
here.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic.